Hi everyone. So I think we can start. Hi guys, I am Bethany Jepchumba from Jomo Kenyatta University, pursuing innovation technology. And currently I'm in charge of the AI data science track in the MSP Kenya community. So today we'll be continuing with last week's session. We'll be talking about some rejects and some data cleaning, as well as how you can get data from Twitter. So, like for those who joined the other time, you already have, we covered some basic introduction. So, and as you remember, you can sign up at MLH blog to get the slides, and you're able to get the slides to get more information and anything else that you will need. Yeah, so you can sign up. I can give you guys a minute to sign up. So when you sign up, you'll be given a few questions to answer: your name, for the organization hosting this, you can write other. Yeah, basically questions to answer. This will give you access to the
Could you share the link on the chat? Also, there's someone who needs to mute their mic.
Okay. So an organization to help people all to build technologies, to hack, to build different things. So there's the local host workshops, and then there's the major thing. There's the local host, and then there's the annual share, build, and I don't remember the other one. So each MLH session is built to enable people to be able to create rather than just learn how to code and not being able to utilize it somewhere. So for our workshop, we'll be covering Python. And the main sponsor for the Python hackathon is Capital One. So Capital One is just helps people, it's a company, and through this program, they are able to give people resources that will enable you to grow, especially in artificial intelligence. So what are we going to cover today? So today we'll be looking at how Python can be used to create web apps. Several Python web apps. We will do basically will be more of reading the code. So why do we need to know how to build web apps? Why do we need to know how to do all this? And it's because most of the projects that you'll be doing will either be your web or will be on your apps. And I think the most common place people leverage is the web. You can also be able to create using Python frameworks like Flask and Django. Also, using libraries is essential because, especially in Python and data science, we leverage much of third-party libraries such as NumPy, which will be able to help you in that, and also something like Seaborn for your visualization. So this will be a stepping stone. Even if you don't want to just learn Python, it will help you to learn that. So how many of you guys were here last time, and who can tell us what they learned last time? You can unmute your mics or you can write in the chat. Was here last time? What was your experience? Okay, so Kenny is telling us that he was there and it was good. Thank you so much for your feedback. Who else was here last time? Okay, so I'll do a recap of what we covered. As usual, I'll talk to you guys about what we'll be covering today. So what we're going to build today is let me stop sharing and give me a few seconds. So we're going to build, basically we'll be building a bot, like we'll be building, let me share my desktop. So we'll be building something, so just that can select username and you can be able to type messages down there, the message, and then it will be able to reply to you. So let me show you in look. So I can and probably they can reply something. Wow. That did you know you can track when the station will pass overhead? I'm not sure if hi NASA and did you know are relatable or if the sentence makes sense, but we'll be able to build something that will make sense and make sure that it is closely related. So how does this thing work? So basically, let me I'm going to show you something similar. So it's just basically typing a message and get back from the other person. So this is a text field, or this is a text field whereby you can be able to enter the person's field name, Twitter username. Then this is where you type your message, and then the Twitter name and the message is sent to the app. Then you get your feedback on the screen. So what does this app use? Like the function of this library called Beautiful Soup will scrape a couple of using the Twitter API, and then we will use a library called Flask to handle the requests and responses. Then you get a random reply to one of the two tweets. So that's how it works. So you use Beautiful Soup to scrape the data. After scraping the data, you use Flask to now control what is happening on the screen. Then the app will return a tweet. So what is web scraping? Web scraping is from the internet as text. So the library will be using script. The other library, the library will be using is Beautiful Soup. There are other many libraries you can use, but today we'll be working with Beautiful. You can go to the documentation, but I don't think we'll be looking at the documentation today, but you can go and read about how it works, the basic code and everything else. So how are we going to build the app ourselves? So we'll make a code, start a page, then you can read through the code and discuss it with others. Now write some missing Python code. Then afterwards we will recap and then check a quiz. So in programming, there's so many steps involved. So we will not do all the steps today. Some of them is already done on the starter code, but all this is to link. It's part of programming, so it's not something really hard, but tiny pieces make a whole app. So yeah, the biggest problem you might have when writing code is a typo. So be keen on what you're writing. Make sure everything is spelled correctly. So yeah, let's start. So we'll start with a recap from last week. So last week, what did we cover? We covered the basic terminologies in Python. The first one was variables. Variables is just us to store information. For example, you want to store names of people. So you can use the name is equals to something like Bethany, or name is equals to something like Brian. So variables is values helps you now perform a task multiple times. For example, the example I used last time, if you want to listen to music in an app, let's say you're using Spotify, so you want to listen to music. The steps are the same. So you can either search for a song, then it will play the song, then at the end of the song, it can either go to the next. It depends with you. If you're using a playlist, it will either shuffle to the next song, but it will go to the next song and repeat the cycle, play, finish, go to the next song. So instead of you writing a code for every time, we spoke about those functions. So function helps you reuse the program. Like you can create a function that capitalizes each word, each word in a sentence. So functions, you can use them everywhere. And libraries is someone else has written the standard in when you're dealing with data in and when you're dealing with data in 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 something like let me open in data frames, or if you have a whole Excel sheet full of data, so pandas will help you perform different functions in that you have. So today we'll be learning about regular expressions, a concept that you remove emojis from text. You want to the correct. So also we dealt with this last time, but so we'll be deeper into that, importing libraries and how to use libraries. So yeah, that's a recap of what we learned at the time and what we'll be learning today. So that it is double enough. Sorry for that. So the next thing we will be looking now, we're going to look into the code. So for those who aren't here last time, you need to sign into Glitch. So you can go to glitch.com, then create an account and sign in. So go to glitch.com, create an account and sign in. You do not have an account, you can create one. I can to me that have you guys been able to create Glitch accounts?
Yes.
Okay. So I think I can move on. Is my audio clear? Yeah. So the next thing we will be doing is we will go to the starter code at mlhlocal.host/glitch-python hyphen I. So you can go to the code. Let me share the link in the chat. So you can go to the starter code. I hope you're all here. Then down here you can remix your code. Go on. Okay, so what does this code contain? So from the So this is basically what the code contains. The logo is basically the logo for your app. Script.js is now the JavaScript code and style.css. They're both for the front end. Homepage.html is now the homepage.html, script.js, and style.css are all for the front end code. Then config.py is it's basically how the app will be run. It gives instructions on how the app will run. Then, hello?
Can I see the link again? I got lost somewhere.
There's the link local hyphen II. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. So main.py will handle the requests from our file. Then Twitter underscore scraper underscore fetch.py is what we'll be working on to scrape the tweets. Then readme is basically how tells us about the project, like what the project is about, what the different folders contain, what the different files contain. Then resources.text contains resources that will help you to keep learning later. I think that's all. MLH Twitter API is basically now the API that it's the basic API that is used to scrape the tweets from Twitter. So you can also create your own Twitter API. You can go to developer. We wouldn't be creating our own because Twitter takes a lot of time to approve. So you can go to developer.twitter. So if you're not a developer, you will you can sign in as a developer. So for me, I'm already a developer with Twitter. But if I wasn't one, this is what I will get. Yeah, so you can sign in, and if you're not a developer, you can apply if you want. The application process isn't very long. So the problem is the approval, especially now since there's COVID-19, it will take like 10 times longer. So yeah, that's how you can sign up for Twitter API. Oh, and you must have a Twitter account to get the API. Okay, so now we need to explore the code to understand what is happening and everything else. So for you to, most of the code is already written, especially for the front end part. Like this is the JS file, this is the HTML file. So most of the front end code is written. Right. So for us, we're just focusing on building the bot. So most of it we wouldn't be doing the app part today, but you can read into it. You'll have the code with you, so you can show the file. I'll open next to my window, and yeah, this is basically what the file contains and what we'll be able to build. So maybe I can write a name, Bill Gates, and then I type hi. It will bring me an error because we haven't written the code to be able to return a reply or something of the sort. So that's what we're building today. So the first part we'll work on is the end.env. So we are using MLH Twitter API, and everything else will be documented here. Yeah, so you can open your .env file. Here it is, and write this code. So the API we're using is Twitter, the feature is the scraper, environment, development, and Flask port is 500. Okay, I hope you've all been able to type that in. I can repeat, MLH Twitter API is https://localhost-python-abstraction.glitch.me. The Twitter feature is scraper, environment, development, and Flask port is 500. So now, when you open the Twitter scraper, there's some code that's already written for us, but most of it is not, it's not complete. So it wouldn't be able to return it won't be able to return a reply when you type in. So this is now what we'll be working on today. So let's see, let me try and interpret the code for you. So requests will be able to help us ask for a specific piece of data, a specific format of data in a way, or the specific data that we want. Like here, we want a response request.getURL. So we'll be getting the URL. So Beautiful Soup is now the library that we're using to scrape data from Twitter. Then import re is for regex expressions. We will use it later on. So these are the variables that have been defined for us. So content class name is the tweet text size, content container, paragraph. So that's like what we want from the tweets we want paragraphs. So let me give you an example with Twitter. So let's say this is my home page. And I go to the developer essentials. So I can be able to find the elements in these tweets. So for example, this is paragraph. So I can be able to, you can see from Twitter how the data is structured. Like this is the username. This is the console. So when I'm pointing at something, it will indicate here. So this is the username. You can look at what is defined here. So this is the paragraph that we wanted to return. This is the username that we wanted to return. So yeah, that's basically what we want to get from, like if I go to some Gishuru's Twitter page, I want to be able to get, I am able to pick out his username and I can be able to get such sentences. This is now the data I want to scrape. The sentences from the paragraphs from what he's been able to tweet over the last few days. Yeah. So we get the first function is already written for us. So it gets elements from Twitter, from a Twitter handle. So the function get elements, and then the parameter is Twitter handle. And how do you get the Twitter handle? So the first thing, when you're working with Twitter, when you type the Twitter URL, then you type someone's username. Bill Gates. I hope that is his username. So when you type it that way, you can be able to get, it will return to you his username, twitter.com/Bill Gates. You'll be able to go to his page. So okay, so you've seen it's the Twitter URL, then the Twitter handle, which is someone's username. So then when we can request responses from the page, the user's page, then the response will be getting, we can request the content from that page. Then from Beautiful Soup, now you can define it. You can give it the variable name. You can give whichever variable name you want, but we've used soup is equals to Beautiful Soup. Now we want it in HTML format. Then from the HTML format, we can now return the content that we've been able to contain. And we want, as we defined earlier, the content container tag we want is paragraph. So we can return a paragraph from the class name, which is the tweet text size. So next, we'll be working on the get user tweets, Twitter handle, get user tweets function. So let me go to that slide. I hope you've all understood how the first function works. Yes, now we are here. So the next function is get user tweets. So we want the latest list of all the tweets we've been able to write. So we can add the code. Elements is equals to get elements from the Twitter handle. We already defined the Twitter handle. I mean, this is the function that we're using, right? We already defined the function. So the first thing we'll be doing is to get what was returned from that function, to now write it in the next function to give us all the list of it. Okay, there's someone who said I should go back to the environment function. Oh. There it is, .env. So I hope you've been able to write it down. The MLH Twitter API is https://localhost/python-abstraction.glitch.me. Then the fetcher is scraper, environment development, flask port is 500. Okay. Where are we? Yeah, so from the first function, we were able to extract all tweets from the user's page. So now we want to get a single tweet. So the first thing is we define elements by all the tweets we had gotten from the previous function. So that is get and elements is equals to get underscore elements into the Twitter handle. So our function here also has that one parameter, Twitter handle. I hope you've been able to capture that. Then we can create an empty list for tweets. So this will contain all the tweets that we have extracted from Beautiful Soup. Then we can write for every post in elements. So elements is just all the posts in the person's Twitter page. Like if you have tweeted 700 times or however many times you've tweeted. So each post, we have already extracted the whole thing as elements. So we want a single post in that element. And then for the text in that post.contents, we want to loop into the contexts. Then if the text is not empty, we can now add it to the string. Does it make sense? Does that piece of code make sense? Anyone who's not been able to understand that? Okay, let me repeat. So we already defined the first function to be able to give us the tweets in someone's page. So the second function, we want to get all the tweets as elements. Then you can create an empty list that we will store the tweets. So for every tweet in the elements, we want to get a whole tweet from there. So like for instance, we want to get something like this, wondering if I'm the only person who's tired of blah 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 blah. Then after we get that, now we want to go into the text and see if it really contains text. There are some tweets that are just like this one. This is just a picture. So we don't want pictures because you can be able to get a picture, but that's a story for another time. Today we're just doing the text. So you can be able to get text. So we want to skip, if it's empty like this one, we want to skip this and get something like this, that's a tweet. So after that, we now append the text to the tweets and now return the tweets. Does that make sense? I hope it does. And I hope you've been able to finish writing that piece of code. So yeah, it makes sense. So now let's see how the tweet is able, we can now display it in the code. Let's see how now we can be able to display like how we got here. So we can go to main.py and we will read the whole of this code later on. So now we can come here and yeah, when you come here, you can be able to see that we did, what did we do here? Sorry, let me give you my code. Okay, so from the Twitter script, we were able to write all this, right? So we were able to get tweets and append them. So when you go to main.py, you can see here, we now defined a single tweet into random.choice into tweets. So tweets is what we returned from this function, right? So when you go to main.py, which is now the output file that will now be connected to the front end, we are able to see that it chose a single tweet randomly to display. And then also we can see how the bot answers in a moderate single tweet. But yeah, so the next part, we're going to write another piece of code. Oh, you can run the app right now. And let me stick with Bill Gates. And you can say hi. And my code has an error. Indentation. Oh. We can be able to write hi to. So my code hasn't, okay. Who has been able to run their code successfully? The output you're supposed to be getting is something in the lines of, I wish I could have saved a screenshot. You'll be able, it won't give you something that makes sense. You will type hi and it will return something that's completely opposite to what you're expecting, or it will just return a random tweet, some random tweet someone tweeted, or it will return a group of links or something of the sort. So it's not intelligent yet. It will return anything that's on that person's page. The only thing it won't return, it's a picture, but it will return anything on that person's page. So my internet is not responsive enough, and I haven't written code here. Let me see if I can copy from my old code. I've been able to write this. And this is what we've been able to write at the moment. So if I type hi, It has an error. Okay, let me try it again. Bill Gates. Then I can type hi, and okay. So my code has many errors. I don't think if I continue, we won't get more errors. So I hope yours is better than mine. So what I'm expecting from your code is either something that's not related to what you've typed, or just anything random, or a string of text. So now that's where regular expressions comes in. So you might be able to get random emojis or something of the sort. So regular expressions helps us to now be able to create a pattern that we want. Like if I want you to put an email in, if I create an app and I want you to put an email, so I will expect a certain pattern. Like it will be either name at gmail.com or name at probably jquat.ac.ke or something of that sort. So it's a pattern that I expect you to have followed. So it should be able to deny anything else. So we imported RE. Yeah. So when RE was imported, that is a regex library. It just helps us to create the regular expression. So for instance, this is a pattern for a URL. So it will be re.compile into R http /s+ hyphen comma re.all. So what does this mean? So R into http/s+ means just for anything, for any expression, find a text that starts with http followed by some length of strings. So anything that starts with http, be it https, http, blah blah blah, that will be a URL. So that's what you don't want to find. Then .all just means you apply to anything else. So whatever you pick, it should be applicable to that. So you shouldn't pick a URL. So the other one is also, this is an example. So you can see that example. It should return something like an empty string, then probably check out this URL, then an empty string. This is what it will return. So regex, it's not that easy. It's very complicated. When I'll show you the code that we'll write. It's very complicated, and it's not something that you expected to have a grasp of 100%. You learn a new regex expression every day. So, but you can be able to actually understand how it works and know the basics. That's what you need to know. So, for example, this is what we are going to write. This is an emoji pattern. All this is not something that I expect anyone to have. Okay, people have crammed far more harder things, but it's not a must for you to know, oh, this is the Unicode for emojis, this is for symbols, this is for maps, this is for flags, but this is what we want to filter out of our code. So this is now the code that we'll be using to filter out. So emoji pattern, so this is re.compile, then the regex expression, flags is equals to read.unicode. So you can add that to clean tweets, clean_tweets_data function. This will now help us to remove all the unwanted symbols and links, emojis, symbols, and flags, or anything else that might not be important when a tweet is returned. You can be doing that. Any questions? Oh, sorry. So this is what we have in our code. So you can remove this pass and then add the regex expression. Pass is just to skip the function. Yeah. Okay, I hope you guys have been able to copy and understand the code. So the next part is now applying this pattern, this emoji pattern, to all the code that you have written, all the tweets that will be passing through. So the URL pattern is that I already discussed that with you. Then the mentions pattern. Also, when some tweets have a mention element in it, let's see here. Let's look for someone like So yeah, like for example, the world needs at WHO now more than ever. So some tweets have the mention function. So you also don't want to get the mention function, because if you get something like this, at Nick Christoph does an amazing job. The context is, unless you are reading the tweet in its own context, you won't be able to understand it. So we also need to remove the .at. We also need to remove the mentions pattern. Then now we can create a new list with clean tweets. And then for each tweet, you remove the emoji pattern, remove the URL pattern, and also the mentions pattern, and then append it to the clean tweets list. So I hope you've understood. Sub is basically removing the emoji pattern, so it will return an empty string plus your tweet, or an empty string plus the text that now doesn't have an emoji. So I hope you understand how that code works. So this is what we're writing next. So removing the URL pattern, removing the mentions, and also the emoji pattern or emoji symbols, you name it. So as you can see, regex is not very easy, but it's not also very complicated. You can be able to understand its basics, how to apply it. It's very applicable. It's applicable in very many things. Like, for example, if you're signing into a new app, let's say you want to create a Gmail account. Normally, when you input your password, it will tell you, you have to have at least 8 letters, probably an uppercase letter. Then for others, you have to have a number. For others, you have to have a unique letter, something like #. So it's very helpful in ensuring people actually create a strong password instead of people writing just 2 letters and they're done, which is very risky. So yeah, regex is very applicable. Even if you don't want to do AI, in AI it's very applicable. So I hope you've been able to write this code. So the next part is now being able to, I hope you understood what you've created. So after that, you now need to call your function. Like for the others, we were able to come to main.py and then call our function. So let me ask, how will you be able to call your function? How will you be able to call this function that you've created here? What do you guys think? How will you be able to now use it in your application? So we have 3 functions here. The get elements, which will be able to help us scrape the data from Twitter. Get user tweets, which will be able to help us now get the specific tweets from the page. Then the last function is clean tweets data, which will now help us remove the symbols, remove the URL pattern, and also the mentions. So now we can go to main.py and call the tweet. Now this is where you actually want it to work in the app. So this, you're calling the tweet. So I'll explain how this code works. So from here to this is now, see the app, how it looks. Next to code. This is this part of our code. So you first have to send a message. So this is where you write your message. Hi, then you send the message. Then this is the this is the message body. This is now the message body, where now after your message is being passed to get the reply. Then this is where you write your Twitter handle. So this is the code that writes all this. This now helps us to call the username. Like, this is the code we wrote earlier on, get user underscore tweets into Twitter handle. So the Twitter handle, we are writing it here. Then tweets will be able to obtain as per the code here. So we'll be able to return tweets. Then after returning the tweets, we now try and get the cleaned tweet. So this is now us calling the function that we had written. Then this will handle if we get an error. What if we get an error? So this is where we'll, like, for instance, if you write a username that doesn't exist, this is where it now gives you an error. Maybe it tells you user not found. So the error message will be, sorry, I couldn't process that. Try again, please. This is now how we want the app to be able to find a specific message. So username is the Twitter handle, so it will return the Twitter handle. Then the message will be the bot answer.
Hey, Beth, so I have a question.
Okay.
Shouldn't we pass the cleaned tweets to the bot answer?
Yes, we have already done that. Yeah. Clean tweets, now we get
But
them.
will the single when the bot answer is, I mean, when the single tweet is choosing, I mean, when the, what am I saying? When random is choosing from the tweets, does it know that it's choosing from the cleaned ones?
I guess, yeah. Because when we cleaned the tweets, we returned cleaned tweets, right? We picked the tweets from here, ran it into our function, and then compiled it into, created another list for the cleaned tweets, right? Then when we come here to main.py, we can see that we're using cleaned tweets. We're using the function cleaned tweets to clean the tweets first. Oh, by the way, I can see what you say. And I am not sure of the answer.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we have get user tweets. Give us the tweets. Oh, when we get the tweets here, right? And we clean it here. And more code. These are the tweets. It means the tweets aren't cleaned. But we clean the tweets here. So it will return cleaned tweets. But then when we are answering bot answer, oh yeah, the bot answer is supposed to return cleaned underscore tweets, I think. Yes, I think that was the problem. Yeah. Then when the bot answer returns the clean tweets, now when you write your message here, you can be able to get the clean tweets. So let's try with something like, again, I'll use Bill Gates.
I think we should pass to like the clean tweets to the single tweet, the random choice. And then for the bot answer, we give it a single tweet.
Yeah, now I'm seeing it. Sorry for that. Then here we can pass. Makes more sense. Yeah, true. So now when we pass someone like NASA, then I write something like, hi NASA. It returns NASA explorers. Hi NASA, explorers learn about the new CubeSat, something of the sort. Yeah, thank you so much. So then, as you can see, it's not very intelligent. So that I will leave to you guys to figure out how to make it more intelligent. That will now be a quiz I can leave you guys with to figure out how can you make it more intelligent? How can you make it when I type, let's see, I type, let me see. If I search for someone like Donald Trump, then I type his name, let's see. So he talks about newly declassified. So let me type something of that sort here. So his username is real Donald Trump. So username is real Donald Trump. Then I can type what I send. You say the answer is that is giving me is way off to what I want. So I want to leave you guys with that task to be able to figure out how you can be able to make this app intelligent. So I hope you learned something new. I hope you are able to understand how you can get tweets from data, understand how to read code. So I know it's not, it wasn't as technical as you hoped, because we've basically mostly been reading code and trying to interpret it. But most of the time in the workplace, if you're working on someone else's code, you have to, if you're working in a company, you have to read someone else's code. You have to understand how the code flows. So yeah, I hope you've been able to learn about how to fetch tweets. So maybe I can also give you that assignment to search for tweets, to try and make it more intelligent, and also try many other things. Don't forget to create your Twitter developer account here at developer developer.twitter.com, you can be able to create your own, you'll be able to apply and create your own Twitter developer account so that you can be able to use all this to scrape from data from Twitter and understand all that. So in conclusion, you can go to mlhlocal.host/quiz and see if whatever you learned you've been able to understand, and you can be able to answer the questions correctly. Then for the slides, that one asking about the slides. Okay. You can go to mlhlocal.host/check-in. From there, you'll get all the resources that you've used and anything else that you might want to use. And lastly, anyone who has any other question? Anyone who needs any clarification before the call ends? Okay. Yeah, I'll be posting it in a few seconds. Okay, so we'll be having our final session next week, and it will be led by another MSP from Kenyatta University. And also, Eric, I think you will be having a session soon, so you can talk about your session on R.
Hey, Bethany, thank you. Yeah, thank you for the session. It was really loved it. Yeah, so we'll be having a non-technical art session. We will be having a talk with Shelby with Karaoke, an organizer at Africa Art. To be talking about the growth of art in Africa, how to incorporate art clubs in universities, how to transition from the course you're doing to data science. Yeah, so be a lot of fun Saturday. I think at 4 p.m. I'll be posting details soon. And thank you, Bethany, for the session. It was really good. I think I'm slowly transitioning to Python. So thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Anyone else? Any questions about the code? You can explore more. I can send the links on on the documentation for rejects and Beautiful Soup, and also the Twitter developers, how to sign in, how to create your own apps. Yeah. So in case you don't have any other question, I think we can end at that point. So we will meet next week. If you have any challenge, you can text me or email me at bethany@studentpartner.com or in my chat. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us during this call.